Okay, cut off, but we're back in business. For this one, we have both x and y, so we know it's going to be a sloped or oblique linear equation. And I think it's best to start with putting zeros in each of these to solve for the other one. So if we do, for example, like 2, so let's put a 0 here. 2 times 0, subtract y equals 6. We essentially get negative y equals 6. We don't like to have a negative variable. This doesn't say negative y, so we have to divide by negative 1 on each side. Remember, there's like an invisible coefficient or invisible 1 right there. So if we divide by negative 1 on each side, it makes our y positive, but it will make our 6 into a negative 6. And then if we input where we're at, where we put a 0 into the y, we get 2x, subtract 0 equals 6. So 2x equals 6. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. We get x equals 3. So when y is 0, x is 3. And then you can see a little pattern. So we're going up by 3 on this side. So if we go to 6, we could go to negative 3. We are going up by 6 on this side. So that's going to be 6. We could go negative 12. So now let's plot them. If we are at, let's see, negative 3x, 1, 2, 3. We are at negative 12y. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, way here. If we are at 0x, we're at negative 6y. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we are at 3x, 1, 2, 3, we are at 0y. 1, 2, 3. And if we are at 6x, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we are at 6y. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So our line will look something like that. Okay, go that way, go that way. That's C. Okay, let's look at our next ones. And again, yeah, I would start by inputting 0. It's easier to kind of solve these things when you get rid of one of the variables, essentially. So let's look. I'll get my red highlighter out here and just highlight the lines. That's the line right there. And in this one, that's the line right there. So what does this describe? Well, there are only y values. Okay, so there's only y equals 2. It only touches x here. So there's only y values. So let's go y equals 2. Here we have a vertical line. It's at negative 2x, and it does not touch, not over here. So we're going to go x equals negative 2. Okay, very good. So there's only one variable. You know it's going to be a vertical or horizontal line. It's a little bit counterintuitive that the y is horizontal because we're used to the x being the horizontal axis. And yeah, that the x, when there's only x values, then ends up being a vertical line. So it's a little bit counterintuitive, but maybe you could remember that it's like the reverse. And let's do this last one. For each equation below, make a table for the given values of x, graph the equation. So they give us these values of x right here, and then they want us to graph it. So they want, I don't know why they gave us all this room, but negative 2, 0, positive 2, negative 2, 0, and positive 2. So let's just input these in and get the values. So let's go 3 times negative 2 plus y equals 3. So that's going to be negative 6 plus y equals 3. Oh, that's a 3, not a y. Let me scroll. And then to get the y by itself, we need to add 6 on each side. So we get y equals 9. So that's for negative 2. Then when it's 0, we have 3, 0 plus y equals 3. So that's kind of ends up being y equals 3. And now I think we can see a bit of a pattern. As this goes up by 2, this goes down by 6. So that ends up, our next one's going to be at negative 3. You could quickly confirm, okay, so that would be 6 equals plus y. You'd have to subtract 6 from each side, and that makes sense. Let's do this next one right here. So we have, let's start with our negative 2, subtract 2y equals 8. To get the y by itself, let's first start by adding 2 to each side. We get negative 2y equals 10. And now let's divide by the negative 2 on each side. Y equals negative 5. So that's that one right there. Let's do another one. 0 subtract 2y equals 8. So that kind of, forget about that. Let's divide by negative 2 on each side. And we get y equals negative 4. Negative 4. So now you can see the next one's going to be negative 3. See the pattern. We could check, does that kind of work? 2 subtract 2y equals 8. We'd have to subtract 2 from each side. You get negative 2y equals 6. Divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2. And yeah, you'd get negative 3. Now let's plot it. I'm going to use some colors. Let's do this first one. We are at negative 2x. And a positive 9y. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Way up there. Next, we're at 0x and positive 3. 1, 2, 3. And we are now at 2 and a negative 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, there's our first line. Something like that. And our next one, I'll use another color. We are, again, let's start at negative 2x, and we are at a negative y this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're at 0, and we're at a negative 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And our last one, we're at a positive 2, and we're at negative 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And that looks something like, there you go. Okay, so again, we are like using what we know to find out what we don't know. So we knew these values, we input it into the letter, and we solve for the unknown. Again, we just input what we know the values of x, we input it into where the x is, and we solve for y. We solve for what we don't know. And the important things to remember, if you have both variables, it's going to be that sloped line or the oblique line like this. If you have just the y, it's going to be a horizontal line. If you have just the x, it's going to be a vertical line. Okay, thank you so much.